Hello, friends! We did it! We're finally doing the live that I've been teasing for like, I don't know, two and a half weeks. We've been having a moment, and we are going to finally answer all of your questions about New York Fashion Week. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Jewel. That is my real name. I'm a real person, and I am a fashion writer and also an expert or a guru on all things clothing rental programs, purse rental programs, thrifting, of course, whether that's online with ThredUp, Poshmark, eBay, or whether that's in person in thrift stores. You know, the best thrift store in New York City is Housing Works, all of them, but specifically Soho is the best. So I had quite a doozy at New York Fashion Week, and it was such a whirlwind that I got a lot of questions, and I thought that I would do this to answer some of those questions and give a little clarity. So I have some questions that people dropped in the question box today, and I'll answer those. Oh, that's funny. Hi, Conrad. I'll answer those questions, and then also if there are any other questions I'm not getting to, just drop them in the box below. I think it's over here, you might see. There's a little square with a plus sign on it, or no, a little quote bubble, like cartoon quote bubble with a question mark in it. And if I didn't address your question, then ask it there. What am I wearing right now? I'm actually wearing the outfit I was going to wear last night. We ended up, for several reasons, not going to the Moroccan speakeasy event, unfortunately. I'm a little bit sick. There was a death in the family. I haven't slept in a few days. Some other things went down, so we ended up not going, but I was gonna wear this, not the blazer. The blazer or the jacket is H&M thrifted. I got it off of Poshmark, and I love, and it gives Chanel vibes. The dress is Who What Wear. It's rented from Armoire, and then all these necklaces were thrifted. I have a couple like black bead ones. I was trying to do the flapper feel. Black bead and clear beads, and then these are just rhinestone. So, oh hey Kelly. If you have any questions about New York Fashion Week, I'm going to answer what's already been asked, but if you have any other questions, just drop them in the question box below. So, also new setup. Look at this. Ta-da! Ooh, can you tell that my voice comes in and out a bit, but I'm pretty good. I've wanted this for so long, and I finally got it all together and put up all my shoes and bags, and voila, I'm still working on it. So if I did go to the Moroccan event, I would have worn this green dress. I would have worn these necklaces. I would have not worn the blazer. I would have either taken this on the road, or I have this other rental. It's a Karl Lagerfeld, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Just a blue wool coat. Great. And this is from Armoire as well. But speaking of Karl Lagerfeld, we haven't gotten to it yet. I'm going to make a reel, but these circa 2010, I think, Chanel cap-toe pumps from the Karl Lagerfeld era. These just came in. I got these on Poshmark, if you recall. I won a bunch of money at the casino, specifically $215. I've been looking at these shoes for easily a year. They were on sale for $225, so I bought them for myself. I do have to take them to the cobbler dude. They got a few scuffs on them, not a big deal, but maybe you can see that. But had I gone to this Moroccan speakeasy last night, I would have definitely worn these Karl Lagerfeld era Chanel cap-toe. I think it's 2012 actually is the year these came out for resort wear. That's why they're white. I would have worn this blue Karl Lagerfeld jacket, kind of a coincidence, but you know, I leaned into it. And then I would have worn this little kind of paisley silky number with these long necklaces. But anyway, we ended up not going, but hey, such is life. And speaking of which, I still have outfits because of like the drama that went down at New York Fashion Week. I still have outfits I haven't worn that are all rentals and need to go back in the next like 10 days. So my feed's about to get deep. Like, I had a silver monochrome look that I loved. That's what I wanted to wear to the blondes, but I'll tell you the story about how I got into the blondes, and we didn't have time to change. It was kind of like if we left the building, we thought we were going to lose the opportunity. So I was wearing that pink on pink monochrome outfit for Badgley Mishka. It was in the same space, just hung out in the pink on pink. Desperately wanted to switch into silver on silver. I was with my friend Kimberly, and she said she had another outfit at the hotel, but we knew we had to stand our ground to be able to get into the blondes, and it worked. So let's get into the questions. And hi, my name is Jewel. I'll say that a bunch of times. I used to do lives all the time and I rarely do them anymore. So if I'm a little rusty, that's what's up. Hey, Hazel. Hey, Melissa. All right, let's see if these questions came in. Questions from stories. Can I post this? Oh, do you see that? Yeah. What did you learn the most? Great. Oh, this is fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Instagram. You do the things we want you to do. What did you learn the most? Hands down, and taking it back to the blonde story, hands down, I treated I was very lucky in a lot of things. I was at a very good place. I had a lot of good things coming to me and I was just kind of in an advantageous place, but we say in business, we say monetized that. I capitalized on that. I knew I had a few good things start and some timing, some great things happened to me before Fashion Week or leading up to Fashion Week. Oh, hey, Sham. I had a few things leading up to Fashion Week that put me in a really good placement, I'll say. And then from there, it just became this like a train that couldn't get off the tracks. We just kept going. For instance, at the Blondes, we didn't have ticket for the Blondes. If you recall, I tried to go to the Blondes back in fall because it's kind of like a concert and they often close New York Fashion Week and it's very glitzy and glam and all the gays are there. There were a lot of trans people. There were a lot of drag queens. There were people from RuPaul's Drag Race. If you saw it, it was Jewel themed. My name is Jewel, but also just like huge rhinestones. It is like level 10. There's no minimalism when it comes to blondes. So I couldn't get in the fall. And then I heard from some other people who even work in PR. They're like, oh no, the blondes is like the one you can never sneak into. Like you're either in or you're out and you kind of have to be in that world. And although I am fabulous and have a lot of gay friends, I wouldn't say that that scene knows me so well. And maybe I'm not fabulous enough for that, but we just never said no. Every no we heard, we interpreted as a not yet. Everything I wanted, I just funneled in on and I said, what else could we do? If tactic A didn't work, okay, what's tactic B? All right, tactic B didn't work. Okay, tactic C. For instance, at the Blondes, there were 3 of us trying to break in. 3 with maybe like 3 other friends. We were all hanging out at Spring Studios just lounging, but we all had the same idea that we didn't have tickets to the Blondes. The Blondes was happening in 2 hours in the space we're currently in. How can we make it happen? And we kind of bounced back and forth. We kind of played good cop, bad cop with PR and with the front desk or the registration. Hey friends, hey Samantha, hey Shanice. And then when one tactic wouldn't work, a different, like I was kind of the nice one and I was like, kill him with kindness, just be nice, whatever. And then someone else was like, be sassy and act like you own the place. And we kind of bounced back and forth between them. By the way, the lesson is definitely be nice. They will be nice to you if you're nice to them. And at the end of the day, I also know that all fashion shows, they need a full audience. So if people are missing, they need you in there. Like it is a perfect yin-yang relationship where, sure, they're doing you a huge favor and you're getting amazing things, but you're also doing them a favor. Don't forget that you're doing them a favor by filling the seat. And I'll get into that in a second. There were I was very surprised by how many shows I'd go to with empty seats. And then I would be standing room. I would get moved to a seated position and then I would call people over because I also know it, like Badgley Mishka, not to, didn't mean to name names, but I did. I did have a assigned seat because I know the PR people, but I was sitting on kind of like a raised kind of bench, like risers like at a football game where one level was here and one level was there, and I was by myself. There were 6 empty seats next to me and there were standing room behind me, and I literally waved them over because I was so close to the runway. I was right at the front. For any photos to come out and to have that gaping hole, no bueno for PR. So I actually helped out the PR people by being like, come fill, and then, you know, you're giving people what they want. So it's great. So number 1 lesson I learned is absolutely, I took it with me and I said, for the rest of the year, have this mindset. Keep going until you get a yes. A no is just a not yet. And be creative, be kind, be thoughtful, but just keep persisting, keep going, and do not give up until you get what you want. Number 1 thing I learned, and I like have it on a quote board in my house now. All right, next question. Oh, maybe I should go from the bottom up. I'll do that so I don't lose any questions. All right, this one is very interesting to me. Any cool freebies, goodie bags? Do you want to hear the surprising answer? Absolutely nothing. I got no goodie bags. I personally was not invited to any parties, and apparently the parties and like daytime events, we call them activations. So a lot of the makeup places do that, and I'm not big in the makeup scene or beauty scene. I do more clothing only. And they, because beauty is much smaller and inexpensive. It's $12 mascara, not a $1,400 gown. There's only one in the world of. So what I learned, two things on this point. One is that no, I got absolutely no goodie bags. There are no gifts or anything like that when you go to a show. You sometimes will get a pamphlet, but the pamphlet is truly for information. It is all the credits for, I'm thinking of the Blondes now because that was the last one I went to. They had these amazing carpets. I want to buy one. I think they're called We Are House is the company that made them, and clearly they have a partnership. Who did the staging, who did the lights, all the stylists. Every show has to have like 10 to 20 stylists. And the stylist is the clothes, like who pins this up if it's too low or makes it lower, who decides it's this length and takes it up there. And also like they're changing, there's dressers, so many makeup artists, so many hairstylists, and that's just the day of the show. To get up to the show is how many people are in production, how many people work for the design house. How many times do you iterate on a certain idea before you finally get the fabric and the garment there? So you will get some kind of pamphlet, like 3 to 4 pages that gives you all that information. And then also like the press contact. So if you were someone like me who's in the business, or I think it's more for buyers and merchandisers, you would have that information where now you want to order this stuff. Say you work at Bloomingdale's, you want to order some Badgley Mishka. The pamphlet is for you to know, but it's also to give credit for everyone who worked, because it is a 15-minute show, but it takes 6 to 12 months to produce, to get everything there, and then so many people on the day of to make everything flawless. And then the second part of that is that what I learned is, so I did get I was a little bit A-list or VIP, which was persistence and luck. And once I was at that level, I was getting invited to a lot of shows, and I had some friends that I would definitely call more famous than me, and they're full-time influencers, and they told me that the parties, which I didn't get any invites to, the parties are the B list. Hey, Danielle, they give party invites to people who don't get New York Fashion Week show invites. So by being A-list, or by being lucky enough to get invited to the shows and to sometimes have a seat, I was then not invited to the party, because the party is for the people who didn't get that invite. And if there is a goodie bag, it's usually at the party. But for fashion, there aren't a lot of for clothing, there aren't a lot of goodie bags. For my point, it's very expensive, and even when you see the people in the front row wearing the current clothes, those are borrowed for the day or the hour. You get fitted, there's an appointment, you're probably contracted to wear it, there's some kind of exchange there, it's a business situation, and then they give those clothes back, I think. Even a few celebrities I met, talking to them, what I loved about Fashion Week is like everyone's just on the same level. Everyone's just like, closet goals, thank you Aika, I just made this, like I'm very excited about it. And one day soon, these are lights, it'll light up soon. I got these from that idea from Lindsay Silberman, follow her, Lindsay Silb, but they need to be charged. Okay, so going back to what was I talking about, I was saying that I didn't get any goodie bags, end of story. And then also when you do get goodie bags, it's usually daytime events. And a daytime event is like 2 to 3 hours, and you get a goodie bag because there isn't like a performance. And also, that's the other thing about fashion shows is like everything is there to be seen and photographed and put out to the press. Fashion Week has been from its existence. It's really to showcase things for people who buy it and produce it. So they're going to get it to the stores, get it to the customers. And then over time, it's become more of a press thing. It's really about the photos. It's about who's in the front row. It's about what can you show us. And we're going to use that footage for the next 6 months. So they don't want to clutter up the canvas with a bunch of bags and stuff. But also financially, that's a very big investment to give everyone, even if I went to a few that were like jeans and t-shirts, but like jeans do cost $200 times 100 people. That's a lot to give out. So it's usually more beauty brands, or activewear does that a lot, and those would be daytime events. They're like 2 to 3 hours, and your girl Jewel didn't get one single invite to an event, but she got a lot of fashion shows. Okay, next question, and if there's a question I haven't answered, just pop it in the question box below. How do you get into shows? Girl, you email every single contact you know for weeks on end. So I have two resources you have to follow. After I went to France last year and I met the influence community, that's Alyssa and Danielle. They're the hosts of that. And by the way, tomorrow they're selling that trip again. It closes tomorrow. Best trip I took last year. Go for it. It's amazing. They're amazing people. Do it, do it, do it. They're called the influence community. They also have a podcast. They have separate Instagrams as well. Danielle is She Styled Wet, and Alyssa is alyssa.larson, and that's Alyssa with 2 L's, 1 S. She also was formerly known as Fashionably Surfed, and I surf as well. So we're both Capricorns, we both surf, we both love fashion, we get along really well. So they were a major resource for me because in the Paris trip that I went to in June, and they're doing again this year in June, we had these little workshops and Q&A nights where I really, up until this year, had not been going to Fashion Week for a long time, and I definitely never went as a writer or reporter. So I didn't know very much, to be honest. And everyone was like, "You live in New York, do you go to Fashion Week all the time?" And I was like, "No, actually. I know a lot of people in fashion, so if I get an invite, I'll go, but like I don't work the system." So I learned from them, and also Austin Tassone. I believe her last name's Tassone. She's Austin, Austen. She's a YouTuber. She's also on here. She's a former editor from Nylon Magazine. She's great. She has a really good YouTube video that's literally how to get into Fashion Week. And I used that in the fall Fashion Week. Literally just copy and pasted what she did. I took her template, I took her formula. She even has a template for like the email you're gonna send to PR. And I did that in fall and I had a little bit of success. And then this time, because it was my second go around, I knew to start a little earlier. I got really lucky with the Marie Claire timing, and a lot of PR people who I'd been emailing and wouldn't give me the time of day. Suddenly I was writing for Marie Claire and they were reaching out to me. And then it turned out I really wanted Badgley Mischka. I've been a fan of Badgley Mischka for a long, long time, and I've rented them forever. And it's funny, when I went to their event, I got some dresses from them, and I went through my feed and I was like, I have like 30 Badgley Mischka dresses in my feed. Like, I really love their stuff. So it turns out I've been emailing the PR person for Badgley Mischka. She had worked for a larger company and then went to make her own company. And that company did Badgley Mischka, Pat Bow, Markarian, and there was a fourth one. So when I was reaching out to her about this Marie Claire article, kind of asking for an invite on Badgley Mischka, she was like, "Oh, who are you?" And she just literally handed me invites to all of those shows. And she actually said, after we talked about it, she was like, "By the way, here's my cell phone number. I'd love to meet you in person when you're at the shows. Text me and like we'll say hi." Total game changer. I was absolutely no one in fall. I was absolutely no one for the 4 weeks I was emailing this person about Badgley Mischka. Get a byline in Marie Claire, and suddenly everyone wanted to give me stuff. But on that tip, the Marie Claire timing I was just very lucky on. Also, persistence paid off. There's an editor at Marie Claire who I love now, and I work for her, named Jenny. And Jenny had posted in writing communities, people will post jobs and they'll say, "Hey, we're looking for this." And I have made this very lovely niche between fashion and commerce, where I talk about, obviously sales, thrifts, how to find a deal. That's my whole spiel. But also, like the reviews I do for the Today Show, I review products and I talk about these things that are coming out Marie Claire. I'm talking about brand identities and company identities and what you can purchase at certain stores and certain companies. So this person was looking for someone like that in November. I wrote her to cover Black Friday deals, but I had heard about it too late that she'd already filled the spot. So she basically wanted someone to work all Thanksgiving weekend, so that if a hot deal came out and Marie Claire needed to get it out there was someone on the laptop ready to do the work. And I was like, "Listen, I'm trying to break in. I can work on Thanksgiving Day. I don't mind. I can work on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of that." She filled the spot. And then I did not give up. That is the number one thing I will share. I did not give up. I wrote her again, middle of December. "Hey, I know that you had coverage for Black Friday. Do you need someone for end of year clearance sales?" She didn't need anyone. January, which is when a lot of things, like in most companies, budget opens up come January, and also just, everyone's in that New Year mood and they're like, "Hey, I had this half idea, let's make it a full idea." January, I reached out to her. "Hey, do you have any other assignments, anything you could work on?" "No, I don't." February, maybe late January, early February, I wrote her and said, hey, Jenny, just popping in again. 4th email I sent this woman. And she said, Jewel, I not only have an assignment for you, I have 5 assignments for you. And if you're new to writing, 5 is not a number we hear of. The number is almost always 1. Sometimes it could be 2 or 3, but it's usually 1. And you will pitch for months at a time to get that one article. But because I just fit her niche, what she needed, and the timing was great, and I was persistent, she assigned me 5. So there's going to be 5 articles coming out any day now in Marie Claire where I talk about different brands and identities and what they sell there. And then when I did this, I give myself credit for this one, I was already writing these people, these PR people to get into New York Fashion Week. Then I had to write about certain brands. The articles were about certain store identities, personalities. So I'll use one. I'll say Nordstrom because that's one of them. How does Nordstrom differ from Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Lord & Taylor, if that's still around, or from the South, Dillard's. Dillard's is Macy's now. But what's the difference? Henry Bendel, RIP. What is the difference between Henri Bendel and Bergdorf and Nordstrom, etc.? So, to talk about this and to write the article, I had to say Nordstrom's famous for selling this and this and this, or you can purchase these type of things and that type of things. I'm not a Bergdorf gal. I learned a lot that Bergdorf is known for its really exclusive line. So they'll go to a Badgley Mischka and say, hey, Badgley Mischka, we want a Bergman only line that you can't get anywhere else. Nordstrom has a different brand identity, but this is the stuff I had to research. So I had to talk about that. So then I needed brands to talk about. So I mentioned that since I'd already been emailing them. I said, hey, I'm doing these articles. I did Nordstrom, Bergdorf, Bomba Socks, which I think is hilarious. Bergdorf, Nordstrom. What else is in that world? I want to say Lord & Taylor, but it wasn't. There were 2 others. And I would research on the website what those brands were, and then I would reach out to their PR people and say, hey, would you like a placement? I knew Marie Claire was big, but I didn't know it was as big as it was, because the second I mentioned that, all the tables turned. Like, everyone was reaching out to me, and then, because PR people, their goal is to get in a magazine like that. Some PR people were telling other friends at different PR agencies, and they were telling their whole circle, and then they would go there and tell their whole circle. So I literally now get like 30 PR emails a day because they all think I'm the Marie Claire writer. But the truth is that one time I got assigned 5 articles. I do hope to write for them more in the future, and those will be out soon. But again, the lesson is be persistent. If you are a regular person who's not a huge influencer or a writer or known in the industry, you literally just write to PR people. Again, check out Austin Tosone. I believe it's Tosone. She's a YouTuber, and Keep Calm and Chiffon is her blog. She has a YouTube video that's like, this is when you write an email, this is what you say in it. If you have a lot of followers, say that. If you're on TikTok, say that. If you don't, say something that, could make these people really interested in you, and do it at a certain time. And that worked for me in fall, and then I did it again in spring or in February. And I did it more, and then the Marie Claire, I just kind of capitalized on that moment. And I didn't know it was going to work as well as it did. It was a little half idea, and then I realized, like, wait, we're all scratching each other's back. You're PR, you need placement in a magazine. I'm a writer, I need brands to talk about. You have tickets to New York Fashion Week. I want to go to New York Fashion Week. All of us are talking about the brand, which is really the important thing. And for instance, Badgley Mischka, they're very happy that both of us are getting what we want, because this is the end goal. So it was great to work with people like that, but be persistent. All right, next question. Hey, Paige, I'm talking about New York Fashion Week. Paige and I met at New York Fashion Week. We went to a show together. I love this question. Oh. Do you think February Fashion Week is easier to get into than September Fashion Week? First, I'll say that it's very hard for me because I want to call February Fashion Week spring or winter, and September is fall. But you're really doing the next, because you have to buy clothes, 6 months out or whatever. So we're seeing things for the fall in February, and we're seeing things for spring, summer in the fall. So it gets a little confusing. So I'm just saying February and September. Okay, but the question is, do you think it is harder to get into September Fashion Week than February Fashion Week? And the answer, for obvious reasons, is absolutely. It was beautiful actually this February, but usually in New York it's 20 degrees or under. You are dressed to the nines, but you're wearing a 5-inch heel. You're carrying outfits, you're carrying shoes. I have done fashion weeks in February or other things in February where you're like, this is miserable. I am getting out of a cab, climbing over snow, dirty snow because it's New York City, to get to a show. So yeah, of course everyone wants to come in September. And also the September one is pretty early in September, so it is kind of summery. The other things I noticed is I didn't know this and I learned, and next year I'll do better. February Fashion Week is all about coats. So next time I focus more on this stuff, and next February I would absolutely, where's that reptile bag? Reptile bag, where are you? Marc Jacobs, reptile, she's missing. All right, we choose another one. Let's go for this one. She's thrifted. I bought her for $1. Like, I would show up like this. This is how you show up in February. In September, girl, you show up like this. It's all about the skin. It's all about the body. It's all about showing off what you got. But since you're going to wait in line outside, February is all about the coat. And I remember the first 2 days, I didn't know that. And I was in like a normal sporty, like Athleta puffy coat. No one wanted to take my photo. As a matter of fact, embarrassing story, little secret. The first 2 days, I was the ugly girl on the cheerleading squad. I was like standing like this in line with my puffy coat next to like someone in like a pink furry coat and someone in some amazing like rainbow thing or metallic. And photographers or street photographers and paparazzi everywhere, because again, we're all getting what we need. Their goal is to get photos of people in outfits. They would come up to my two friends and be like, could we get a photo of you two? Like, they would specifically be like, the boring blonde woman in the middle, could she just step back? We'd like the two people on the sides of her. But it's because I wasn't wearing fabulous coats. So next time, because you know I do the rentals, I could have easily, in an Armoire case, I get 6 coats. I get 6 items. I could have ordered 6 coats, and I did that last year when I was shopping for a coat. Could have done that. This is a Karl Lagerfeld coat from Armoire. I could have ordered 6 of these, but I didn't know. So next February, it's all about the coat. You got to get your coats, and then also like your boot or your shoe, because you do stand outside for a good bit, and it is cold. So I found sunglasses, boots, and jackets were the real fashion story in February. And then in September, everyone was naked. And it's all about, lines and proportions and showing off your body and kind of being like Hailey Bieber. So, but yes, it is easier. I'm not that seasoned yet. I'll find out more this September, but it definitely felt like there was more availability in February, and that people get tired by the end, actually. Another tip I'll give you is make friends with people. 3 of the invites I got on the last 2 days were friends from like DC or Boston or Philly, who they're like, I am tired, I'm going home. So they just hopped on the train and gave me tickets to their shows. Me with my backpack full of platforms changing in the lobby, you know it, Paige. I will never use any of this info, but love hearing about it. Anytime, Melissa, you can come here. You can stay at my place. Best question ever, Kelly Lynn. Who was the best pink big bird you met? You know her, Kelly Lynn from the Lolo Style. We had a great time together. And another thing I'll say, she's so sweet. She lives in DC. So fabulous. Like, it's a great time to meet all your Instagram friends, like people that you talk to every day or you like have different conversations with, you suddenly get to meet in person. So Kelly Lynn is a DC blogger. She comes to New York every now and again. And she invited me to this Afterpay show. And she invited me to the Afterpay show, but the day earlier I saw her at Kahindo. We're both renters, so we know like the certain brands, like Kahindo's in most rental programs. So we're interested in the same things. And she's a total sweetheart. Kelly, if you watch this, loved meeting you. You're such a sweetheart. Okay, next question. Do people really change outfits for each designer show? Yes, they do. I actually failed on this a little bit, or I learned a little bit that I have to prepare a little bit more. I very much wanted to wear Badgley Mishka to Badgley Mishka. I rented some outfits. They didn't get there in time because they didn't get there in time. But also, had I thought about it 2 weeks prior, I could have gotten them there in time. And then I actually almost went to go buy something for Badgley Mishka. And, but if you know the price point of Badgley Mishka, it would have been a very expensive day for a 15-minute show. So I didn't. I ended up wearing the thrifted pink dress with these shoes, these Versace's, and the pink jacket was from Express. But yes, you should, and it is also like a respect thing. If someone's giving you a ticket, if they're inviting you to your show, do your best to wear something from them. And that's also what's great about renting, is you don't have to go buy a $1,400 dress, just wear the dress. Rent it, send it back. It's great. Okay, how much do you get paid for New York Fashion Week? How much do I get paid for New York Fashion Week? Negative $1,000. It is not a money-making juncture. What I would say is it's a great place to make connections. It's super fun. I have no problem spending the money that I spent, but also the money I spent was like at a dinner, or because I wanted to feel good and get new shoes, or I wasn't quite in love with the whole ensemble and I needed like a new jacket. So I'm not mad at that at all, and I think it's absolutely worth it. I don't think there's people who make money in New York Fashion Week, and most of my famous influencer friends who come in, they write it off as a tax thing. You can do that, so you can break even, but like, if you're coming in from out of town, you're paying for, New York's not a cheap town. I don't know if you know this. Not known to be very economical. You're paying for a very expensive hotel. Every meal you're having is $100. It's New York. Every salad you're having, I say this all the time why I won't work in an office again. I'm like, if I go to Midtown, I'm having a $28 salad every day, times 3, costs $160 just to eat lunch in Midtown. I'm not doing it. I will lose money working in Midtown. So, expensive place, you're going to spend a lot of money. I think that if people were to make money, like one thing I'll do next time, I've actually been talking to some of the people at CFDA. They're the people who actually produce New York Fashion Week. I've been talking to the editorial team there about potentially covering some shows for them next year or next season. So I would make a little bit of money there, but like, there's also not a lot of money in editorial. We're talking like, enough to pay for your dinner, and maybe like one hotel, but not thousands of dollars. New question. Hey, Sarah. I brought a big bag of clothes to change into between shows. Yeah, that's the norm. And that's what, if you're from out of town, the number one tip I heard is get a hotel in Soho so you don't have to carry all your stuff around. Not everything's in Soho, but it's kind of centered there. So a lot of people told me that they're like, oh, it was expensive, but I got a hotel down the way. And you're kind of saving because you're not doing cabs and stuff. But it really beats carrying 4 pairs of shoes. What was your favorite show? My favorite experience was hands down Pat Bow. It was very much celebrity. It was beautiful. Okay, I will say that. The production of it was gorgeous. It was in, I guess, like an old bank or something, but to me, it looked like an opera house. It was down on City Hall by Center Street. What do you call that? 111 Center Street. That's where you go if you got... if you sue your landlord, you go to 111 Center Street, or if you have jury duty. And actually, my friend just had jury duty the other day, and I was like, you remember the episode of Sex and the City? She goes to 111 Center Street. There's a little pocket, there's a city hall down there, there's a little pocket in Fidei that back in the day, like George Washington times, this is where all the government was. It might even been where the United States Capitol was, I forgot. I don't know. Alexander Hamilton was there, George Washington was there, there were some banks. And the end. So it was really, really beautiful. And the clothes were stunning. But also, like I told you, Pat Bow, I actually didn't know Pat Bow. Can I admit that? Pat Bow, I believe, she's American, but her background is from Spain, or like she produces out of Spain. And she does very glamorous beaded gowns and like very sexy, like Giselle Bundchen sexy bathing suits. It was not a size inclusive show is one thing I did notice, but the dresses were phenomenal. The scene was phenomenal. And it was also, who was it? The woman on Saturday Night Live this Saturday, Kelsey, she was there. Like, I didn't know who she was, and paparazzi was taking her photo. And I was like, who is this? Is this a pop star? And I like took her photo in a red sequin vest. It was a lot of people like that. So the front row was just very famous people in amazing outfits that matched the show, and like that's just I love. And then also I had a really good moment because it was my first show because of Marie Claire. It was through that PR person who was like, I'll give you invites to all these shows. And then there were several, because I only have like 2,000 followers, friends. Do you know that? Like a lot of times people are like, you're famous on the internet. And I'm like, no, I only have 2,000 followers. There were several people there who have 25,000, 80,000, 100,000 followers that were in the same level as me. And that made me feel really proud. I was like, you're someone I've been following for a while and I like covet your career. And we're kind of on the same level now. It was really, really cool. So, and absolutely just like gorgeous all the way around. Hey, Lady M. Next question. How do I get more involved with writing? In fact, I love that page. Paige asks, how do I get more involved with writing and fashion journalism in the US? So I have great writing tips. I will say writing is pretty easy to break into because it's a field that you never not need news. Like I'm actually working for a publication now that does pretty straightforward news. I say that because I'm literally talking about TikTok videos half the time. And the news is, or did you hear about the person who, I hate to bring this up. There was an incident on an airline yesterday or this weekend. That is news, but the way we're in right now in the news cycle is that needs to be out in a few hours and it usually goes back to a TikTok or a YouTube video. But it is also news. It's just like back in the day, like if we're talking about George Washington times, Alexander Hamilton, when they crossed the river and got in a duel, through conversations that crosses back on the river, goes to downtown. They probably were in that same building I was in, City Hall, and they literally speak the news. Nowadays, people are just taking a video with it, but it is still the news, you know? I just think it's a weird thing of like, I'm writing about TikTok videos, but it's just the way we're using to communicate a story that happened. So there's a lot of opportunity. I have a few resources, and I know your Canadian page, so I don't know if all of these are like, you have to be an American only. Everything is legal in Jersey. So there are many Facebook groups I'm in. I don't want to get into it, but there's a thing called the Binders, and this comes from, I forget who it was, but some politician said he had binders full of women for jobs. Remember? This was like 4 or 6 years ago. So then it became a thing for women in journalism that they made all these groups called the Binders. And it's literally like binders full of fashion writers, binders full of writers looking for editors, binders full of monthly editors, binders full of daily editors, binders full of news editors. So whatever it is, like I don't do home stuff really. I don't do beauty. I've done a little beauty and I'm like, this is not for me. So if I were a beauty person, I'd go to that, and it's literally people. That's how I found this Marie Claire thing. That's how I found Marie Claire. That's how I found Today's Show. Couple other things, and then you start to meet friends. And then also my biggest resource is a newsletter. I forget what it's called, but the woman who writes it is named Sonia Weisler. I believe it's Weisler. She sends that out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's a literal roundup of people that are looking for writers for certain things. And especially for where we are now in news or in writing moves very quickly. You know, like the things I write about. I wrote about the Selena Gomez thing on Friday, and I knew I had to get it done by 5 because if it didn't get out by 5, it was going to be dead by Monday. You know, or like if there's if there's an awards show and you're talking about the fashion. I wrote that article for BuzzFeed, and I remember talking to my editor at BuzzFeed, and she was like, well, it's already 48 hours, so like it's kind of dead in the water. We can't push it because no one's going to read about Oscar dresses 3 days later. Like it literally lives for 24 to 48 hours. So you want to be quick on those things. And that was the thing with Marie Claire is that I did get it from Sonia Weisler's newsletter. I wrote her, but she had tweeted it out. It's really a collection of tweets. She tweeted that out maybe 3 days earlier, so she already filled the position. So you have to be like on it. Although sometimes, hot tip, they get a lot of things that first day and then nothing. So if one of those people that they book falls through or whatever it is, if you wait like 2 weeks, sometimes you will fill the hole that they now have. So that's a little bit of a tip too. But definitely whatever her newsletter is called, I'm sorry, I don't know, by Sonia Weisler. Binders full of blank. You can literally just look up binders full of and you will see 90 different things and then go for the kind of verticals you're in. And then what I really like about writing is there's a lot of opportunity and you just work your way up. Like, I forgot what I did before Today's Show, but those clips I sent to the editor to get Today's Show. And then Today's Show, those clips got me in a lot of places. BuzzFeed, I got in because of Today's Show. This news publication I'm now writing for, definitely it's BuzzFeed style stuff. And every day when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, they like me because I know how to do a BuzzFeed article. And I do nothing but listicles, which is what BuzzFeed is. You know, every day I get assignments. It's like top X number of TikTok hacks about hair. And I'm like, this is so BuzzFeed, but that's why they like me, because I know how to do SEO and how to write in that style and how to tease it. You don't want to give away the story. So those are resources on how you can become a writer. And then, of course, there's the old school way of literally pick up a magazine, read the masthead, email the editors. What's great about, for magazines, that is, which is what I focus on, there's only like a few companies. There's Hearst, there's, what's the other Hearst? I can't think of it. Condé Nast. Condé Nast owns probably 60 to 70% of the fashion magazines and beauty magazines that are out there. And then Hearst owns the other ones. And then if you wanted to do like New York stuff, like New York Mag, The Cut, not the Village Voice, what's the weekly one? Time Out. Like they're kind of under, or New York Times, they're either under the same umbrella or that's the whole circle. Like the editor of New York Times definitely talks to the editor of Time Out. They're buddies. So if you can get in with either of them, they respect that byline. By the way, I learned the other day, not everyone knows what a byline is. A byline is literally the line on the paper that says like by Jewel Elizabeth, but it means, we use it in the way that like I have bylines in Marie Claire, BuzzFeed, and the Today Show. That's like a writer term. And actually all the writer terms are weird. I don't know why we say deck instead of subtitle. I do know why we say TK instead of, that means to come. It's TK instead of TC because TC means table of contents, but there's a rich history in journalism where we just do the things we've done before. I'm losing my voice a little bit, friends. I love working for international work to add to my portfolio. Yeah, and that's what it's also about, Paige or other writers. You add to your portfolio and you just like ladder up from there. It's very much like corporate America or corporate anywhere, that because and also because I'm American and I'm in New York, like Marie Claire US has a lot more clout than say Marie Claire France or UK or Singapore or whatever. So I definitely, although I'm not ready for it, like I can use Marie Claire to get into Vogue or The Cut or New York Magazine, stuff like that. Pardon my voice. Next question. Where are my questions? Here we go. Were you front row a lot? I'm going to have a sip of water while we think about this. I was front row, I'd say 50% of the time, and there's a caveat on that. I was placed in the front row once for Badgley Mishka, and that's also why I felt bad that I didn't wear Badgley Mishka. But for Dennis Basso, I was absolutely in the back row, but I snuck my way front. For the blondes, I ended up being front because I'm very good at just doing this. Be in the back. Also, I'm petite. That's actually a benefit, although it hurts your self-esteem to stand next to a lot of models. It's tough being like, wow, you're just 5'11", and that's what it is. And in heels. But I'm like 5'3", 5'4". So I can, this is also like advantageous for me on the subway. I can sneak between people and find a seat because I'm close to the ground. But again, it's just about having gumption and being like, I belong here, and you step up and it's your space now. What surprised you? I think still mad I didn't see you at Dennis Basso. I know, and that's also what's fun. Paige and I met Saturday night, and Dennis Basso was it Monday? Yeah, I'm pretty good with dates and times. So neither of us knew we were both going to Dennis Basso, but Dennis Basso was an invite I inherited from a friend because she went back to DC. She's like, I'm over it. I'm tired. I want to go back to my house. So I didn't know Dennis Basso. I got like 9 a.m. Monday and the show was at 1 p.m. and it was on the Upper East Side. So same thing, speaking of which, I think you did this well, Paige, but had I known, it was very Upper East Side, but had I known that I was going to go to Dennis Basso, I would have put on something like this, and there were several people in like Gossip Girl outfits. Like this would have been so appropriate at Dennis Basso. It'd be great if I mean, this is, can you see, this is like a green paisley. So it does kind of mix and match together, but I could also do like a short pleated skirt, like in a Kelly green. That would have been really cute. But there were many people in like plaid Chanel-esque suits at Dennis Basso, but I didn't know. You know what I would do next time? This is a great tip. I would think more specific. I would know more about the people. Like, I didn't even know Dennis Basso was showing, and I know Dennis Basso from QVC. So when I think of Dennis Basso, I think of leather purses. I think of like, he kind of has like a Dooney and Burke leather purse line, and that's what I think of QVC when I think of Dennis Basso. Apparently he makes gorgeous gowns, and he's friends with a lot of supermodels, Beverly Johnson close to his show, because he's been doing this for so long, and he's still snappy and making it happen. So Dennis Basso was a really funny show because it was definitely not in Soho, and the people there were so not Soho. So you went from like piercings and hot pink outfits and mohawks and people of all different sexualities and gender identities, and then suddenly we were on 63rd and Park, something like that. The facelifts in the front row. There were several esteemed gay stylists that were in their 50s or 60s that we see on Bravo and E all the time. Can I say this? Isaac Mizrahi types. There were many Isaac Mizrahi types at the Dennis Basso show, and I would plan that out next time. I'd know Dennis Basso, like that's the vibe, and wear a suit like that, like get dressed up in Upper East Side clothes so that you do the Upper East Side thing. And then same thing, if I went to Badgley Mishka again, I would definitely plan on how to get a Badgley Mishka dress. The blondes, now I know how to get in. The blondes, the people getting photographed with the blondes were, gay boys and unitards, of course, and they should, but also like gold makeup like this, and there was one, a woman named CJ, who I guess is some reality star, and she's in WWE. She was wearing like a full-on vinyl rubber, what do you call that vinyl rubber? The like, not vinyl, I want to say something latex. She was wearing a black latex catsuit unitard, and her body was banging. But like shoes like this. But like if you're going to the blondes, if two gay men who love rhinestones, high heels, and hair to here are creating a show, dress like that, like dress appropriately for the venue or the environment, because that's why people will look toward you and also be excited, So I would definitely do that again. So those are my tips. Be persistent. A no just means not yet. Don't stop till you get a yes. Be kind to everyone. Know that everyone has power and everyone is a human. And what I loved about Fashion Week is like everyone's just a fan of clothing. Everyone's a fan of the art of styling. Everyone is a fan of seeing a beautiful ruche dress that like drapes down the runway, We're all there, and there's something about us that brings us all together to love clothing and the design of it. So there's no reason to ever be rude to someone, because a lot of the things I would get into would also be just because I would be shooting the shit, pardon my French, with a PR person who had the clipboard at the front of the venue. But because we both have that passion, they want to help you. If you're rude to them, they don't want to help you, and they have the power. They get to tell you whether or not you get a ticket. So those are all of my tips. Oh, and then the last question is, what surprised you? Did I answer that? What surprised me was how nice everyone was. Everyone was so nice. I made so many friends. Paige, you're a great example. Like we met going to Quad Clothing, I think, which is not really a denim line, but had a lot of denim and suiting influence. And Paige works at a PR company. She's from Canada. I'm a writer in New York City. We were both there. Rather than being like stuck up and being like, who are you? I just said, oh, how are you? We started talking, and then she did change her shoes from a backpack, and she's like, should I wear the red shoe or the black shoe? We love this. This is our drug of choice, is fashion. So if you just embrace it that way and say everyone's your friend, everyone wants the same as you to put a bomb-ass outfit together, just help each other. Because I also want to say, hey, should I wear this pink shoe or this pink shoe? Which one is more appropriate, This is what we love to talk about. This is our form of art. So be kind, be persistent, and you can nail New York Fashion Week. That is all that I have. I am losing my voice. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. I hope this answers all your questions. If there's anything else you want to know, feel free to slide into my DMs. And have a great night, everyone. That's it. Happy Fashion Week. I will be back in September. And did you know I'm going to Milan Fashion Week? Never been to Milan. clearly never been to Milan Fashion Week, so I'm happy to take tips if you have any. And how, I mean, I've been to Italy, I've been to Rome and the south, like Naples and like Amalfi Coast and Capri, but I've never been to the north, and I've never been to Milan, and I know how edgy Milanos are. So if you have any tips, let me know. And also, I don't know how I'm gonna get into shows there because I don't know Italian and I don't know anyone in Italy. So if you have tips or you have connections, if you have a best friend who works at a fashion PR company in Milan, please connect us. Thank you. All right, thanks, friends. Again, my name is Jewel. I will see you on the next live, and have a great night. Bye.